Frank Warren is on the line live, and we've been rejoined by Dillian Whyte's lawyer, Jeff Benz. Jeff, good morning once again. This is your chance. Tell Frank what you're not happy with.
Well, I understand that while I was gone, Frank managed to breach our confidential agreement and read it. But putting that aside, I don't know what else he said. But Frank, where are we on the tickets that Dillian asked to buy before you sold them all to Ticketmaster? He hasn't been given the chance to buy any. And where are we on the comps that he asked for? And where are we on the escrow that we've asked for? And we don't have any escrow of Dillian's purse. We've been asking for that for over a month. These are just basic things, putting aside the economic issue. So go ahead, Frank. I want to hear from you.
Did you sign a contract for this bout?
We did, Frank, on the representation by your son that we would have further negotiations. You weren't part of that discussion. I haven't even talked to you since before the first bid.
Hey, are you going to let me answer?
Jeff, let Frank speak.
Jeff, there's other people have got views besides yours. So let's just go through this. You signed a bout agreement. In that bout agreement, where does it say anything about escrow accounts, tickets, or any of these things that you mentioned? Where does it? You're a lawyer. Where does it say anything in that contract you signed?
Hey, Frank, if you want to get into a legal debate about Swiss law, which is what apparently applies to this,
I'm happy to do it, man. I'm happy to do it. So then answer the question. Answer the question. You're a lawyer.
Are you going to let Frank, baby, are you going to let me answer?
I'm not a lawyer. I left school when I was 14 and a half. You're a lawyer.
Are you going to let me answer?
Did you advise your client to sign the bout agreement?
Okay, Jeff, you heard what Frank's saying, so now is your chance to answer it. Were these things in the contract?
I get to talk. We signed a form bout agreement. We had negotiations that said we were going to have further conversations about all these other elements. Frank should know that. He hasn't been told that by his lawyer or by his son. It's not my fault. So, Frank, tell me where we are on get Dillian's money guaranteed. Answer my question, Frank. Why don't you want to put Dillian's
properly?
Frank, why don't you want to put Dillian's money in a place that's protected?
It is protected.
What's wrong with that? Where is it then, Frank?
Let me just tell you something.
On you go, Frank.
You've signed an agreement. You're his lawyer. So if you're worried about the money, then he should be looking to you because you advised him to sign it. And if there's a problem, if I was him, I'd sue you if I don't get paid because you advised him to sign it.
Jeff, is that not a fair point? You've signed the contract. Does Frank not have a point? You're his lawyer. Not
at all. Frank's beating around the bush. He won't answer my questions.
But Jeff, is there a contractual obligation?
Hang on, Jeff. You're Simon.
Jeff, is there a contractual obligation in the contract for Frank to put money in escrow?
There isn't. We agreed to discuss it later.
So with respect,
we agreed.
Hang on, Jeff. I haven't finished.
Jeff.
I haven't finished. With respect, if it's not a contractual obligation to put it in escrow, why are you asking for something that's not a contractual obligation then?
To ask Mr. Warren then why.
But I'm asking you because you're the one that's negotiated the contract.
Why was Dillian Whyte shamed by Mr. Warren for not going?
That's not the question I asked you, Jeff. Jeff, I asked you. You're putting it on Frank's toes. Hang on, Jeff. You're putting it on Frank's toes about escrow. If it's not in the contract, why would you ask for something that you've had your client sign a contract on that doesn't reference that in the contract?
Am I talking non-commercial words to you guys?
Yeah, you are. You're talking non-commercial words.
We had a discussion. I'm sorry. Listen, would you just give me a second? We had a discussion with the other side about all of this, and we had a deadline to sign a form bout agreement that Mr. Warren wants to read a bunch of other things into, including Dillian's obligations to promote the fight and do other things, which aren't in there either. And you now want to hold me to that standard? We had a discussion where we were going to have a further discussion. This is what goes on in the real world of business when you do commercial deals. It might not go on in Frank's little boxing world, but this is what real deal makers do.
Frank, would you argue?
Frank would meet the deadline.
Frank, would you argue that you've done everything by the book, Frank?
Listen, if I haven't, sue me. This contract, I've abided by everything. It took them nearly 4 weeks to sign a contract. They signed it an hour before it was due to be signed. Clause 11 of that contract, it says the boxer shall reasonably promote the bout, the WB sanction of the bout, and the WBC heavyweight championship positively in their social media accounts. Dillian has not posted one thing about this fight. Not one.
Why is that, Jeff?
Is that not a contractual obligation, Jeff, Mr. Lawyer?
Well, Mr. Warren, it is not contractually defined as to what that means. You tell me what's reasonable, buddy.
I'll tell you what it means. It means he should be.
I know what you think it means. I think you think it means he should be on it every day. He has no obligation.
Well, he's not done one.
And let's talk about how long it took to do this agreement. You guys represented to us a form agreement that turned out to not be the form agreement. You misrepresented to us what the form agreement was, and when we got to the bottom of it, we had to go back to what was actually the form agreement. Now, talk about why that takes time. Ask your guys.
Tell me something. Why did you sign this agreement? There's no escrow in it. You're obliged to do things promotionally. Why did you sign it if you're not going to do these things? And you want more things that are not in the contract?
Frank,
you're a lawyer.
Frank,
I'm not a lawyer. You're
Frank,
the lawyer. You're the lawyer. What are you doing?
Mr. Non-lawyer.
You've obviously not protected. All the things you're asking for is because obviously, in your view, you've not protected your client's interest. You should have advised him to sign the contract.
Not at all,
then.
Frank. Frank, show me where it is that we have to do any of the things that you've said, other than reasonably promoted.
Can I ask you two boys, besides tittle tattle, is there any contractual breaches on either side? Because on one side there seems to be an obligation for Dillian to make appearances, which you're disputing, Dillian's lawyer, and on the other side of it, you're making observations about there should be an escrow account. Frank, but at the beginning of the conversation, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but you mentioned that money had been placed in escrow. It sees that it hasn't been. If there's no contractual obligation to do that, yes, you did.
The offer was made.
Well, okay, well, an offer was made to place an escrow.
What I said to you, I said on the 26th of February, my son sent a text to Jeff at 17:08 saying that we'd provide a private plane to bring him over. Although we're not obliged to do it, it's not contractual. None of this is.
Why are we arguing about escrows then, Frank? Why is there a reference to escrow? If you don't have to do it, it's not contractual obligation.
Let me finish then, and I'll explain. Because they asked for the money to go into escrow, and we agreed to do that, subject to him showing up to the launch press conference.
Is that right, Jeff?
You want to partially read your son's text to me? I can read you the whole lot of them if you want.
But is that right, Jeff?
A whole bunch of emails too.
Is that right, Jeff?
No, it's not accurate.
No, it's not.
Not accurate.
Read it.
Sure. Let me go back to. This is tied to making. This is me to your son. This is tied to making progress on incentives and nailing down comps, credentials, access, and the ticket buy, as well as getting the escrow nailed down. You failed to mention that text, probably 2 texts before your son's that you just read from. So if you want to play this game, I'm in this business. I tell the whole story. I'm looking at the 20. I'm looking at the 26th of February text in my phone right now, Frank. In my phone, not a selective one your son printed for you or whatever you got. But if you want to get into that battle, I got the whole record. I am not at all concerned about the accuracy of what I say and what I said. I'm in a regulated profession.
Let me ask you a question.
Jeff,
let me ask you a question. For once, try and be honest. Was there an offer made to you to put the money into escrow or not?
There was never any offer to put the money into escrow that was with an escrow agreement and terms and the ability to do it. None of it. You wanted us to fly.
Guys, I've got to say, Frank,
and a wing and a prayer.
Jeff, Frank, it seems to me one of you's not telling the truth. So who is it?
You're a lawyer, Jeff, and I'm going to say this as a lawyer, and I'm as I say, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to say you're a liar.
Well, Frank, you might get to test that out. Frank, you might get to test that out in court. But I would say to you, it makes a lot more sense for us to start talking to each other directly than through the radio. So if you want to do it this way, I'm happy to do it.
Adhere to the contract that you got your client to sign. Adhere to the contract you got your client to sign.
Frank, Jeff, it does seem very clear to the millions who are listening and watching this unfold on YouTube and Facebook at the moment that the two of you need to speak. You need to speak further with each other. Frank, is that not right? Jeff, is that not right? Because you've got to get this sorted out. Because all fight fans want is the fight.
Absolutely. I just said it. I agree with you. We've been trying to talk to them for months.
But in fairness, in fairness to Frank, if you've signed a contract and you're trying to circumnavigate that contract by renegotiating things, then Frank does have a point to say, adhere to your contract. If you want some other things, fine, we'll discuss them. But adhere to the basic principles of your contract first.
Well, we have.
Thank you.
Simon, explain to the listeners what escrow is.
It means parked in an account held to order in favour of the fighter. An escrow account, by the way, Jeff, it's your job to set up an escrow account. If you want money paid into an escrow account, you give Frank the coordinates, not the other way round.
I don't buy that, especially when
it's not. Hang on, it's not a case of buying it. It's a fact. If you want money paid to an escrow account, you tell Frank where you want to pay it.
Jeff, a simple question: have you acted from start to finish so far honourably?
Absolutely.
Frank, have you started on this from start to now honourably?
Everything in that contract, since I've won the purse bid, or Queensbury won the purse bid, everything that we've had to do, we've done. Money was lodged. The deposit was lodged with the WBC, over $4 million. The venue, the date was given on time. The contract from Tyson was signed. They eventually signed theirs, all on sign. Everything done. The press conference, they never showed up at all at. That's their first acts of bad faith as far as this is concerned.
Was it a breach of contract, Frank, then? Is that a breach of contract?
Of course it is. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and we will deal with it. We've already written to them and told them we reserve our position and we'll deal with that after the fight.
So are you two going to deal with everything to allow this fight to go ahead, which is what fight fans want? Jeff, is everything going to get sorted out?
The fight's going to go forward. Dillion's going to fight. Is it all going to be sorted out? Well, that's going to depend on a lot of people other than us.
Do you echo that, Frank?
Listen, look, the smoking gun was fired. We went ahead with a press conference and sold out in 3 hours. That smoking gun was fired. That's gone. You've not helped at all in any way, in any shape or form. There's been nothing from Dillion to help promote this fight. That's a fact of life. You even wrote to us and said to us, we can't use these photographs on the poster. How is that supposed to?
Is that true, Jeff? That they couldn't use Dillion's image on the poster?
We wrote to them and said you needed Dillion's approval in order to use his artwork on the poster. We believe they misrepresented Dillion's status in the artwork that they chose. They never came to us and asked for consent. I've been at this for 30 years, advising and running people that run events, and I've never once dared to use an individual's image or anything else without their consent. And I don't understand what's wrong with that view.
Okay.
Tell me.
Jeff Benz, Dillion Whyte's lawyer, we want to thank you for your time. Frank Warren, thank you for joining us. You two have got a lot to catch up on. The fight is live and exclusive on talkSPORT, and let's hope it's as fiery as the build-up.